Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhuvah Swaha Tatsavitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Satgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहनावनतु सहवीर्य करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि. ओम शांति शांति शांति. Okay, we are on verse number 80. That's where we ended the class. Shankaracharya is saying, he who has destroyed the crocodile called sense objects with the sword of mature dispassion crosses the ocean of samsara unobstructed. So our attachment, our clingy, our desires for the sense objects, so we need to detach from that. With the sword of mature dispassion, it has to be a mature dispassion, not just an artificial dispassion. Okay, so cutting our desires down. So let's look at number 81 today. Visham Vishyehe Margehi Gachatah Anach Budhe Pratipadam Abhiyatah Mrityu Api Eshaha Vidhi Hit Sujan Gurutvatyah Gachata Swasya Yuktiha Prabhavati Fal Siddhi Satyam Iti Ev Vidhi. Say 4-line verse. Okay. See, some of the verses are 2 lines. So it's 4 lines. So starts with the Visham Vishyehe Marge. Visham. Visham means dangerous. Vishya is the sense pleasures. So through the dangerous path, Marg means path. So through the dangerous path of sense pleasures, Gachata, he who walks. A Nach Buddhe, a foolish intellect. A Nach. Pratipadam, at every step. Abhiyataha, overtakes. Mrityu is the death. Api means also. Esha means this. Vidhi, understand. Hit Sujan Guruptya. Through the instructions, see Uktya. Uktya means what's said. Who is saying it? Guru says. Through the instructions of a well-meaning and a noble Guru. Not just any Guru. Hit Sujan. So through the instructions of a well-meaning and noble Guru. Gachata, he who goes. Savasya, by one's own. Yuktaya, reasoning. Prabhavati, comes to him. Fal Siddhi, the achievement of fruit. That means success. Satyam, true. Iti ev, for certain. So that means knowing something without any doubt. Vidhi, no. Know that the mortality soon overtakes a foolish person who walks the dangerous path of sense pleasures. Whereas one who sticks to the path of divinity, according to the instructions of a well-meaning and noble Guru, constantly walks the path, divine path, helped by his own reasoning, he achieves the end. Know for certain this is true. So at the end he says, this is don't have any doubt about it. This is the path. So definitely we got to work on our sense organs so that they just don't rush towards the sense objects, because we don't want to sway away from this path of ours which we have chosen. Because a human mind gets disintegrated because of its desires, we need to bring it back on the right path without renouncing the very germs of this disease, because the problem is he has been telling us the sense objects. So we got to make sure that we don't get swayed away with the sense objects. So in a very powerful style, Shankaracharya is telling us to be careful, because the path of sensuousness leads straight to mortality. Mortality means you just keep coming in this life, the mortal life again and again. That's what mortality means. And immortality is opposite of that. That means you're on the path of truth. Okay, the path of sensuousness leads straight to mortality, and the divine path leads to immortality. See, that's why those mantras, when we say Astoma Satgamya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamya, we are praying to God, help us to walk on the path of mortality, Sat path. Okay? So this term death really means the condition of the body. Atma never dies. But if you identify with the body, then of course, body has to die. The way up the evolutionary ladder is also open to a person who keeps on climbing on this path with the help of a guru. That's what the third line, Hit Sujan Guru Uktya. It's like a path which is described beautifully in this line. So instructions given by a reliable guide, the guru, on the path of spirituality. So guru must be well-meaning also. Guru must have our hit in his mind. If a guru has only his hit, that's not a guru we want. That's why the very first criteria for a guru is unconditional teaching. That means guru is teaching for our hit, our betterment, not for his betterment. So guru must be well-meaning, and then he says sujan, worthy also, must be well established in their own experience. Sujan, familiar with the path, and they can interpret the meaning of the scriptures to the students. So he should be worthy, must be a worthy person, because there are all kinds of gurus these days. We see that. So we got to be very careful. Who is our guru? So guru must be perfect in his conduct also. No excuse for him to be vulgar in any aspect of his living. Okay. But then he says, even if there be a sacred guru and the disciple has a surrender unto him, this is not enough. We have to be ready to actively cooperate with the teacher, the guru, and cultivate for ourselves the perfection indicated by them. So just having a guru, a noble guru, a good guru, an unconditional teacher, that's not enough. Whatever he's teaching us, we are supposed to walk on this path too. That walking we have to do. So each of the disciples must all through his conduct with his guru bring into his field of inquiry his entire power. See, that's why he is using over here the word yuktya. So what's yuktya? Got to make sure that you use your power of reasoning, power of intelligence, logic also, yukti. You got to use it your own, swasya, your own. So turning away from the path of sensuousness, then stepping into the glorious divine path, and then prepare to go forward with the guidance of a guru, and then independent, discriminative reasoning also. So all of this is needed. So whatever we learn independently, we got to think about it too. We don't want to shut down that faculty of ours. That's how he says, a person surely will reach the goal. If we have employed all of these, we will surely. So that's why he says, he's giving us a validity of these declaration in the last line, that know this to be true. Okay. Then in the next verse he says, Mokshasya kankshaha yadi ve tva astihi त्यज अतिदूरात विषयान विषम पीयूषवत तोष दया क्षमा आर्जव प्रशांति दांति भज nityam adrat. See, I'm sure in your book some of these words are they have been compounded, so that's why it's good to break them down. So the very first word is mokshasya, of liberation. Kanksha, desire. Yadi means if, where means indeed. Tav is yours, asti means is. Tyaj, tyaj means avoid, let go. Ati durat, from a good distance. Vishyan, sense objects. Visham yatha, as poison. Vish means poison, as a poison. If you know there's a poison in water, no matter how thirsty we are, we'll never drink it. We won't even touch it. So he's telling us the sense objects are like poison. Piyushvat, like nectar. Tosh, Daya, Kshama, Arjav, Prashanti, Danti. So Tosh is a contentment, like a Santosh, contentment. Daya is a sympathy. Kshama, forgiveness. Arjavam, straightforwardness. Prashanti, calmness. Danti, self-control. Bhaj means cultivate. Nityam means daily. Adrat means religiously. Okay. If you have indeed a craving for liberation. See, first that craving has to be there. Only we can cultivate that craving. Okay. If the craving is not there, then this path is not for us. If you have indeed a craving for liberation, avoid these sense objects from a distance, just as you avoid things known to be poisonous. And with respectful reverence, daily cultivate the nectarine virtues. So he's saying sense objects are like poison, these virtues are like nectar on this path. So daily cultivate the nectarine virtues: contentment, forgiveness, straightforwardness, calmness, and self-control. In the earlier verses, he has insisted upon the importance of Vivek and Vairagya, discrimination and detachment. Now he is slowly coming to a discussion to encourage development of the noble qualities of the head and the heart. That's what these qualities are. These are the virtues. So first we got to make sure that no matter how tempting the sense of objects may look, but a person who has decided to walk on the path of liberation should totally renounce this idea that real joy is in the sense objects. Sense objects are there, they have a purpose, but the real joy is not in them. They don't have a potency to give us the inner joy. So, by withdrawing the sense organs from their field of activity, what do? We conserve a tremendous amount of energy, which we are otherwise wasting. Even a time also, just look at it. If somebody says, no, I want to watch a TV, a movie, look at the time, look at the energy. Energy is important, time is important. Instead of that, person says, no, I would rather do the seva or meditate or pray, do those things. We always have this choice. So do we want to conserve energy and move towards the right direction, or do we want to dissipate the energy and waste more time? So we need to avoid such dangerous consequences at the mental plane. It's not only at the physical plane, at the mental plane also. Sometimes we say, yeah, everybody else is gone, but I'll stay home. But then you're thinking about it, how much fun they are having. Then you're mentally, you are draining yourself. So you got to watch what mind is doing, not just the body alone. See, to remain physically inert but mentally sensuous develops a very distorted personality. And that's why he used the word over here, arjuvam, straightforward. Physically, mentally, both should be in harmony. Okay? So we got to take up the constructive scheme of developing positive qualities. That's what he's emphasizing over here. Stay away from the sensuousness and then cultivate the positive qualities such as contentment, compassion, forgiveness, straightforwardness, calmness, and self control. If we really truly analyze them properly, we'll find that each one of these qualities is in itself an attitude of the mind which will not bring any kind of a suffering in our mind. Like a calmness in the mind comes even in one of them, like a forgiveness, compassion, contentment. So separately also they are very powerful, but together all these virtues, there's storehouse of positivity and the energy. Okay. Then in the next few verses, he's going to criticize the fascination for our body. Anu kshanam yat prihretye krityam anadya vidya krit bandh mokshanam. Ayam deha prarthaha amushyehe poshnehe yasajtehe saswam anen hantihi anukshanam. That means every moment. Or another terms for this is always. Every moment means always. Yat means which, paririte. Completely giving up or leaving aside. Krityam, what should be done. Anatya vidyaha krit bandh mokshanam. Emancipation for the bondage caused by meaningless ignorance. Okay, so anadya vidya krit bandh mokshanam. So emancipation from the bondage caused by meaningless ignorance. So this bondage, cause of the bondage is what? Ignorance. Ignorance what? Forgetting who we are. Ayam means this, deha means body, prarthaha. Prartha means instrument for realizing supreme. Par arth, par means supreme. Amushya of this body, poshne, nourishing. Ya means he, sajjate, clings to. And again, sa means he, swam means himself. Anen, by this, hanti, kills. So Shankaracharya ji is saying this body is essentially an instrument for realizing the Paramatma. Okay. So we came into this beautiful human body to attain Godhood. So this body is essentially an instrument for realizing the Paramatma. He who does not constantly use it for liberating himself from the bondage born of a beginningless ignorance, but struggles to nourish it, is destroying himself. So goal is to attain Godhood while living in this body, using this body, moving upward. But if we just don't do that, constantly, if we just worried about this body, use all our resources, all the energies just to take care of the sensuality of this body, he says that person is destroying himself. Okay? A person imagines that they are the body, like identification with the body, limited, finite, because body, no matter how strong the body is, still it's limited. It is finite. That's why we are constantly, we are struggling frantically. We want to discover how to secure this unlimited body. We want infinite happiness, but we want the infinite happiness from this finite body, which is not possible. Everything we do to obtain things or to do the activities, they are related to the body. But body cannot be liberated. The physical body, we know that it's doomed to disappear one day. We all know that. Starting from birth, then growth, then death, decay. These are the fates of the body. You have to remember that this is just an instrument given to us for a higher purpose. And we got to make this like our mantra that I want to stop living in ignorance. I want to be free. So that's why Shankaracharya ji is reminding us that the body is not meant merely for gross activities and indulgence in sensuous enjoyment. Strive hard for self-redemption. Strive hard. Because this is a very wonderful instrument nature has given us. And if we don't use it properly, this wonderful instrument, we are really committing a grave error. Another beautiful human form, we just waste it. We don't want to do that, not this time around. Continuation of this in verse number 84. शरीर पोषण अर्थिः सन आत्मनम दिदृक्षतिः ग्राहम दारुध्या धृत्यः नदीम तरतुम स गच्छति. शरीर पोषण अर्थिः सन, being desirous of fattening the body. Portion means nurturing or like fattening it. Okay. Here means whoever. Atmanam, the self. The drikshati, desires to realize. The drikshati, desires to realize. Graham, crocodile. Darudhya, taking it for a log of wood. Darudhya. Dhritvaha, holding on to it. Taratum, oh, Nadi means the river. Taratum, to cross over. Sa means he, Gachti means proceeds. Whoever seeks to rediscover the self by devoting himself to the care of the body is like a person who proceeds to cross a river holding on to a crocodile, which one has mistaken for a log of wood. Okay, and we can imagine if we think that's a log of wood and we just hop onto a crocodile, what will crocodile do? Okay, so that's what has happened. We think that the sensuous objects, they will take us far onto our goal of life. No, they devour us, just like a crocodile will. Okay, and how do we know that we are identifying with the body? We have this disease. How do we know? I mean, taking care of the body is okay. Listen, no yogi guru will tell us don't take care of the body. But identification with the body is not good. Constantly we got to remember that I reside in this body. I am not the body. And this residence is temporary. It's not a permanent residence. I had many residences before. Had to leave them. This time around also, I'll take care of it while I reside in it. But the folly is thinking that I am this body. And when we are anxious for the body, that is an expression of our identification with it. Anxiety about the body. Because when we totally forget who we are, we become so anxious. Every little thing, when it happens, and we lose our peace of mind. See, ignorance and knowledge, they cannot exist at the same place at the same time. Ignorance and knowledge. So when we are ignorant about who we are, then knowledge of ourselves is not there. Okay, this again going to that example of snake and rope. When we know that it's not a snake, it's a rope, we are not afraid. So ignorance has been removed. The same way, when I know that I'm not the body, then I won't be anxious about the body. I'll take care of the body, just like we know that we are not the house. We take care of our homes, but we don't, if we get anxious about it, then we are ignorant. So he who is attached to his body and is wasting his time and energy nourishing and fattening it is indeed a fool, according to him. He is far removed from the goal, just like a recognition of the rope example, thinking that it's a snake and it will bite me. Number 85. Moha eva mahamrityu mumukshuh vapuradeshuh moha vinirjitah yen sa mukti padam aharati. Moha is delusion. Ev means alone. Mahamrityu, tragic death. Mumukshaho, for a seeker seeking liberation. Now you are familiar with this term. Vapur adishu, in the body, etc. Body, etc. means our own body, wife, children, relatives, friends. That's what adi means, etc. Moh, delusion. Vi nirjitaha, entirely conquered. Yen, by whom? Sa means he. Mukti padam, the state of liberation. Aharati, deserves. For a student seeking liberation, infatuation with the body, etc., is a tragic death. He who has totally conquered this attachment deserves the state of liberation. Okay, so he says that this is basically you got to start with detachment from this body. So first he talked about the sense objects. Now he's talking about the body. Don't be so obsessed with this body of yours. Whether it's a healthy or unhealthy, don't be obsessed. Take care of it. Just that. Put a full stop there. Turn our attention away from the sense world and then keep an eye on the ultimate goal. This is the key over here, what he's telling us. Anybody who's aspiring to rise above towards the right goal. Otherwise, it's a dire death. It's a mahamrityu. You think you are trying, but then you slip back. Okay, so we can win a victory over our delusory misconception this way. Otherwise, we are always in this moha, misconception, delusion. Okay, so sense objects also, the body also. Number 86. Moham jahi mahamrityum dehadar sutadishu yam jitvaha munyaha yanti tat vishnu paramam padam. So in this verse, he said, whatever he said in the last verse, trying to elaborate on that. Because in the last verse, he said body and etc. Over here, he's telling us what that etc. is. Moham, the delusion again. Jahi, kills or destroy. Mahamrityum, the great death. Deha is the body. Dar is the wife. Sut is the son. And Adishu means etc. So that means over the body, wife, sons, etc. Yam means which, jitvaha, having conquered, jit. Munyaha, sages. Yanti means reach, tat means that. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, that means God. Paramam, the supreme. Padam means state. Conquer this great infatuation for your body, wife, children, etc. By conquering these, sages reach the supreme state of Lord Vishnu. So that is ultimate goal. Reach oneness with the God. So first he explained it to us what the great tragic death is for a seeker. For a seeker. So he's been pointing what exactly this death is. Infatuation with the body and the sense objects. And now the other relatives also. Okay. So, and the body here could be considered all layers of our gross as well as a subtle personality. Okay, not just the physical body. Okay, anything other than the Atma is the body. Okay, that means the ego also. And wife, Dehadar Sud Adesha. How do we understand these words? See, wife is to be understood not only the wedded partner in life, but there's a philosophical meaning for wife. All those on whom you depend for your happiness, that is a partner. Anybody you become dependent upon for happiness. Any relationship. Okay, so philosophically, that's what it means. All those on whom you depend for your happiness. And what is a Sut, the sun? It stands for all those who depend upon you. So it's like in the world we have a mutual relationships. Each individual is but a link holding all other parts of the chain in position. So that's how we look at these relatives. I get happiness from this and I will give happiness to this. So we just forget, we just stay only in the form. We forget who we are, where the real happiness and the real energy is coming from. As an individual, I exist in society, definitely. We do. We cannot negate that. But on this path of spirituality, we should always remember we are traveling alone also. Do your worldly duties. It's not that we should not do our worldly duties. But the source of the real happiness, source of the joy, source of the bliss, we should never forget. So when he says idam, so in the language of the spiritual masters, wife and children is an idiom. Okay, so idiom that includes all the relationships. All the relationships, idiom. Okay. So don't get exhausted, don't suffocate yourself. He says, otherwise, this is a tragic death. And that's what happens most of the time. Our energy, our time is looted by all this. So men of reflection, the Muni, conquer this meaningless infatuations. So as a spiritual seeker, we should have a healthy attitude towards the things, towards the relationships, towards our body also. everything around us. We should love everything. We should definitely fulfill our duties, but we should never allow the world of relationships around to bind us. See, the problem is when we get bound, when our freedom is looted away. Because when our freedom is looted away, we don't grow. And that is the dire death. So this kind of individual intelligently organizing his connection with the world will certainly run towards the goal. When we are not bound by the body, not bound by anything else, we do whatever is needed, keeping the goal in mind, we keep on moving upward. This is what he's teaching us. And that's why he says, the experience, what is the experience for this kind of a person? Vishnuhood. Even while living, you will feel that you are connected with God. Okay, this is what he's teaching us. Then now in the next few verses, he is going to talk about this gross body again. Because he said, don't get attached to this gross body. Don't get infatuated by it. Don't become anxious about it. So he is giving us a further, he has talked about it earlier also, but again, he is giving us the clear picture of what this physical body is, which we love so much. He says, Twang, Mas, Rudhir, Sanayu, Medo, Maj, Asti, Sankulam, Purnam, Mutra, Purishabhyam, Suthulam, Nindyam, Idam, Vapu. Twak. Twak means skin. Mas is the flesh. Rudhir is the blood. Medo, fat. Maj, marrow, like a bone marrow. Asti means bones. Purnam, filled. See, before that there's a sankulam. Sankulam means mixed with. Sankulam, mixed with. Purnam, filled. Mutra, purisha, yam, with urine and fecal matter. Sathulam, the gross. Nidyam, blameworthy. See, like a ninda, blameworthy. Idam means this, vapu means body. This gross body is the most offensive. Why? It is composed of skin, flesh, blood, fat, marrow, bones. And also it is ever filled with urine and fecal matter. See, when any of these things are sitting outside, we don't like to touch it. If we happen to touch it, we'll wash our hands with soap and water again and again. Right? But this is what this body is. So in order to create the necessary sense of attachment and wean our mind from this body, Shankaracharya ji, in a very scientifically, he bringing our attention to focus completely on the composition of our own physical body. That's what this is. See, infatuation can arise only through immature observation. But when the nature of the thing becomes fully evident through some kind of a keener study or scientific study, this infatuation can go away. This understanding has to come there. We don't have to hate the body, but we don't have to become obsessed about the body. Okay? So this is the purpose over here for these kind of verses, that human physical body is full of all this. It's made up of unholy things by themselves. See, sometimes the container may be ugly, but the contents can enrich it. But for this body, even that is not so. Container, he says it's not that rich, not that pure. And then contents in it, he says, that's also, what is it? Urine and fecal matter. Malamutra. It is filth packed that we hug. So in the following verses also, he is analyzing this body further, very closely observing it, so that we all have this body. Okay, the real thing which really resides in it, worthy to be worshipped, is the Atma. So we have forgotten about the God in it. So if we remember God resides in it, and from that point of view take care of this body, then whatever we eat also, we know that we are feeding it to our God. Whether they are the thoughts, whether it's a food, whether those are the where we go also. So remember that there's a God, it's a temple. Okay. But in the temple also, what is worshipful? The divine. Not the walls and the decorations. These days, even when we go to the temple, we forget. It's not the walls which are worshipful, it's the divinity in the temple is worshipful. The same way in this body also, the worshipful is the Atma. Or if you want to visualize the Guru or the God or the Shiv, those are different images given to us by yogis so that we can let our body move away from the physical structure and concentrate on the divinity. That's the reason those chakra meditation or the energy movement, that's all because, hey, just don't think about this physical structure. Concentrate on the divinity which resides in this structure. That is the idea. Okay, so Shankaracharya is not saying anything different than what Lord Krishna said, but he is just dissecting it a little bit more for us so that we can become less obsessive, less anxious about this body. Okay, don't read it that we should not take care of the body. But remember, body is just a housing. We need to take care of it. We are not the house. And he's going to further elaborate on this. He's not done with it. So this is how this great scripture is written. More and more detail is given for every thought over here. Okay, so we'll stop it here, 11:25. Does anybody want to sing a bhajan today? So while you're deciding who will be singing, let me say the Shanti mantra, and then you can ask questions also. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.
जी मैं बोल देती हूँ